Hello and welcome to the Vital Blend. My name is Anthony Vita. So glad you could join me for this episode. Today I'm going to be introducing you to Richard Hubbard, who at one point in his life didn't even want to look at himself in the mirror and actually stopped weighing himself once the scale reached 350 pounds. He even stopped going to the doctor because he didn't even want to hear any more bad news about his health. However, something changed in his life that prompted him to go get his first ever physical, and it was there that he learned about some things going on with his health that were potentially life threatening. Now, faced with the real possibility of having to start with blood pressure medications and all of its side effects, Richard decided to challenge his doctor. He wanted him to give him 6 months to get his weight down to where it needed to be so he could avoid taking meds. Now, not only did Richard shock his doctor, but he turned his life around in ways that he could have never imagined. Not only did he lose a ton of weight, but he also wrote a book about it. He began running in marathons, and he also helped his mother reverse her type 2 diabetes on a whole food, plant-based lifestyle. In other words, Richard should be an inspiration to anyone who is looking to take control over their own health. So right now, let me introduce you to Richard Hubbard. Richard, welcome to the Vital Blend. Thanks so much for coming by and doing this.
Thank you so much for inviting me as well. I've been really enjoying your channel. I love all the videos you post. So I'm happy to share my story.
Sure, sure. And, just sitting here looking at you now, I can't believe that you were like 350 pounds?
Yeah, that was me on the left side at one time. And I can't believe, when I look in the mirror now, I don't see my fat self anymore.
It's amazing. So I want to go back to those days. I want to know how you were feeling, what were you eating, and were you sick at all? Were there any issues that came from having all that kind of weight?
Right. After I graduated college, I started to eat very poorly. Well, I ate poorly in college as well, but when you're in college age, it doesn't seem to affect the youth as much. So, but it took a few years after college, and I really started to put on the weight. I wasn't walking as much as I used to when I was in college. I was sitting all day, not very active, and I was eating a really terrible diet, although I didn't know it at the time. That it was the typical standard American diet, and I was eating a lot. Um, I wrote down my calories after I changed my diet, how much I was eating. Sometimes it'd be like between 7,000 to 10,000 calories.
Wow.
And I don't know how I survived it. I was eating like a half a gallon of ice cream sometimes, eating tons of fast food, and my health was deteriorating. There was diabetes in my family. I was afraid to go to the doctor because I didn't want to find out if I was diabetic. I knew that there were multiple health issues that were developing. I had neuropathy in my feet, which I attribute to probably pre-diabetes. I was feeling out of breath whenever I would go up the stairs or any kind of activity. When I started my present job, I was still heavy. I remember during my interview at that job, the staircase, I was just so wiped out during the interview just from doing the stairs. I was in bad shape.
Yeah, I mean, all those calories, that's what somebody eats when they're trying to run a race or they're a cyclist. So you're taking all this in and you're not burning it off, and you don't have that kind of life, and you can see what it had done.
Right. And plus it was not the healthy choices.
Right.
I mean, I always liked vegetables, but I wasn't eating too many of them at the time. My favorite, one of my favorite fruits was tomatoes. Yes, tomatoes. When I was growing up, I loved tomatoes, strawberries. But the thing is, I focused on bad food all the time. Right. Even growing up, I would love candy, eat the whole bag of Halloween candy. So right. I really had to do something. as I saw my weight going up. And it was not a happy time either. It was very depressing for me, um, just being in that state.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you is what was it that wasn't making you feel, I guess, was there something other than the food that you were eating and how you were actually feeling that made you feel down about yourself or about, I guess, life in general?
I think it was just generally a down feeling. I remember feeling for a while there when I was heavy. Just I mean, I was never diagnosed with depression, but I'm sure it was some kind of depression because it just wasn't feeling myself, not happy. Um, I didn't like looking in the mirrors either. I didn't like what I saw. I avoided the scales. Once I saw the scale at 345, that was it. I never wanted to weigh myself again after that.
Wow.
So it was just a very depressing time.
So what did your friends and family think about you? Did they try to encourage you to lose weight or did they want you to
Well,
eat
my dad,
more?
for example, he would comment how heavy I was. He would tell me straight up. I remember one time it's in my book how I went out to dinner with him one night and he sat me down. I ordered my meal. I remember what it was: a cheeseburger and fries, which I can't imagine doing now. And he proceeded to tell me how fat I'd gotten. He compared me to one of his friend's sons and says, "I'm getting as big as him." And it really opened my eyes. I still wasn't ready to change yet, but that's something that really stood out. But friends, people I worked with at the time, nobody was encouraging me to lose weight. In fact, if there was food, I felt like Mikey in the Life commercial. They would
Yep.
say, "Eat it to me," and give me all the junk food. I would eat it. So yeah, it's a very little encouragement to lose weight.
Yeah. And that must have been tough because at least, like with a kid like Mikey, it seemed kind of fun and everything, but he wasn't 300 pounds. And that would
Yeah,
have seemed
exactly,
very, very cruel,
exactly. Yeah.
Now, did you try any kind of diets?
Oh yeah, a ton of diets. I mean, I did low carb, paleo, you name it, and everything failed. High protein diets, nothing worked. It was I would maybe lose a little bit. I was never the type to lose a lot of weight. In fact, the only time I really lost a significant amount of weight was when I succeeded finally. So maybe I was dropped like 10 pounds or whatever, but nothing ever worked. It was getting so discouraging.
Wow. So, what was it then that made you think about changing your diet, like in the way that you did? What was it that, and I guess it's more than that, but what was it that made you start to care about yourself?
Right. Believe it or not, it was all because of health insurance. My my worker, my I'm sorry, my employer, they implemented a new insurance plan with the state of Connecticut, and in order to pay the cheaper premiums, you had to do a physical each year. And I hadn't gone to the doctors in years, so I thought this is a time for me to maybe finally take charge. So I went to my first physical, scared to death because I hadn't been to a doctor since probably during college. My doctor that I had long since retired. I found a new doctor, and he confirmed that day that I was morbidly obese. And he also told me something else I never even thought about, that I was pre-hypertensive. And also, he ordered lab work, and I found out I was pre-diabetic and also had high cholesterol. But the biggest issue he was worried about was the blood pressure. And he wanted to put me on meds the next time I saw him. So he did prescribe them. I picked up the prescription, looked at the side effects, and I called my doctor and said, I would rather try to lose weight first than to take these pills. And I don't know what made him agree with me because I had all these failed diet attempts. I don't know why he believed in me, but he did, and he gave me 6 months. And within that 6 months time, I discovered plant-based diets through the internet. Actually, it wasn't initially plant-based diets. It was just learning to eat healthier, like learning what foods to eliminate, like red meat was the first to go, for example. So I was doing the research, and within the 6 months, I'd already lost. I don't remember how much during the 6 months, but after a year, it was 120 pounds the first year.
Wow.
The doctor at 6 months could not believe it. My blood pressure had already normalized at that point. So he said, I don't need the meds. And I've never needed them since then, which I'm very proud of.
Yeah. So when you gave that challenge to your own doctor, did you know that you were going to do a whole food plant-based diet, or were you just
No,
give me
I had no
6
idea.
and let me see what I can figure out? That's kind of
Yeah.
what your attitude was?
Well, I knew I was obese. I mean, he even confirmed that in the first appointment, saying I'm morbidly obese.
Mm.
I just remember how he said it. But so I thought I got to get my weight down, and the internet became my best friend at that point because I did research upon research. Every article I could find about lowering blood pressure, that's what I did. And what I was really doing was shifting toward a plant-based diet, even though I hadn't heard of it at the time.
Right. Do you recall what was it within the plant-based world that really hit you? Like, was there a particular doctor that really
Absolutely.
resonated?
I'm glad you asked that because Dr. Furman has been such a huge influence in my life. I appreciate all the plant-based doctors. I really love them all and I follow them all. But he is the very first one who opened my eyes. I saw him on an episode of Dr. Oz in April 2012. I happened to be home from work that day. Somehow it was fate that brought us together in watching that show. He had 3 guests on, and they all not only lost weight, but were improving their health. And that was a real eye opener. For me, suddenly the shift became not just about losing weight, but about really improving my health. I didn't want to focus on the numbers. So I trusted Dr. Furman, started the G Bombs diet, and that's what really kick-started everything.
Yeah, because I guess when you went to the doctor, before you went to the doctor, it was more about the number on the scale, but then you
Yeah,
kind of found out what was really going on. And then,
exactly.
yeah. Yeah, Dr. Furman is very direct and he
He
talks
is.
to you, he shoots you straight. That's one of
I
the
love
things
his
I like
approach.
about
I
him.
really do. Yeah. And I met him numerous times after that. We're sort of friends, when I see him. He knows my story well. And I've thanked him many times because he was an incredible motivator to lose weight.
Yeah, and he talks a lot about toxic food and
Yes.
food cravings and all of that. And you must have really been knee deep in that when you were at your.
Oh, right. I was. And I didn't know it at the time, but I did go through withdrawal symptoms. I didn't always feel good right away when I started my journey. But it got easier over time because I didn't go in all at once because, like I said, I was just learning about plant-based diets when I started. So by eliminating foods like red meat, and then maybe a few weeks later, aspartame and a few other things at a time, it wasn't a shock to the system. So gradually, I had no symptoms the more things I gave up.
Did you ever feel that toxic hunger, like the withdrawal that comes from getting off of those foods? Did you ever really go through that to where it was calling your name and you had to go back and have another bag or
Uh,
another?
yeah, there was a time I wouldn't say I was craving it, but I remember going out to lunch with a coworker and I ordered a bag of Doritos. And I started to eat them and I got this weird headache. And it lasted, for a day, but I never finished the bag of chips after I got the headache. And I never went back to the food after that. I figured it's not worth it. I want to feel good. And no, I never really craved the food once I gave it up. I think I think it's because subconsciously I really wanted to change, and I think my mind was ready, and that's why I didn't have the cravings.
What do you think it was about the other diets that you had tried? I guess now knowing what you know about whole food plant-based, why did those other diets fail?
Well, for one thing, a lot of them about calorie counting, and I don't think calorie counting works. I think you end up hungry because you're eating the wrong foods, and you end up eating more. And then even if you do follow it, it's not sustainable because, like, again, the hunger, it's not going to allow it to work. And then, high protein diets, maybe I wasn't following correctly anyway, but I wasn't feeling good on those diets. So I think that's another reason why it didn't work.
A lot of those diets, they have you eating smaller portions of
Yeah,
foods that are still addictive, still
right, exactly.
fattening. And so you never really get off of those foods, and they're always still there. I mean, I know people who have been on Weight Watchers for 40 years
I
and
did
they're,
Weight Watchers once. Yeah,
yeah. And what'd you think of that? I mean,
I failed. Yep.
yeah. So, do you feel any kind of calling to those foods now? Like, do they like, if you're ever out, going out to eat out with
Oh,
friends or
absolutely
family,
not.
do you ever feel
I have it
tempted to
down to a
just,
science. I don't try to be perfect, but well, for one thing, I'm ethical vegan. I became an ethical vegan after going plant-based. So even if there's junk food there, if it's not vegan, I won't touch it. But if it is vegan, like let's say my boss bought a dessert, which she has in the past, and she knows that I'm vegan, I'll still eat it because it's 100% vegan, but I make sure I eat very clean the next day and the following days. So I will allow myself to cheat, maybe once a month, once or twice a month, but maybe it's like a piece of a vegan cake or something. But I will not ever go back to my old ways. I have a friend, Anthony Maciel. You might be familiar with him.
Mhm.
He once told me that he allows himself one cheat day for maybe flour or something he doesn't typically have in his diet. It's also vegan on his cheat day, but maybe I'll have flour one day a month or something. And I think I follow that same kind of plan.
Mhm. So what were you eating? Like, we talked a lot about what you stopped eating,
Yeah.
but what did you start bringing in? And were there any foods that you found that you actually liked that maybe you didn't like before? And did you feel
Oh,
your taste
absolutely.
buds changing?
Yep, absolutely. So the first foods I started bringing in were the G bombs, Dr. Furman's acronym. G bombs is greens, beans, onions, mushrooms, berries, and seeds. I eat those every day. If I skipped a day, I don't recall because those are my go-to foods. I incorporate other foods based on Dr. Greger's advice and other doctors, but G bombs, those are my like base every day. I have to have those foods. Um, and I discovered I love beans. I never knew I did. My favorite are black beans. Those are my go-to beans, but also really any of them. I also discovered I love oatmeal. That's my favorite breakfast. I discovered like chia seeds, flax seeds. I never had any of those before my plant-based diet. I love those now. The plant-based milks. I use oat milk. That's my new favorite. Um, any of the plant-based milks. I've never craved dairy. Uh, those plant-based milks fill the need. I don't crave cheese, so I don't bother even with the vegan cheeses. Um, but yeah, those are my foods. And if you look at my diet every day, it's definitely G bombs. And I fill my bowl up with salad. I have at least 2 large salads a day because I still have a big appetite, but I'm very active and I don't count calories because with plant-based diets, you don't have to count calories.
Right. I think a lot of people feel like, first of all, well, what am I going to eat? And then
Yeah,
they feel like I'm always going to be starving and I'm not going to be able to do this.
exactly.
What do you say about, like, if somebody were to say, what kind of meals can they do for, let's say, a breakfast, lunch, and dinner?
Right. Well, I would tell them to it's up to them if they want to ease into it or go fast. But Start the day with oatmeal. I think that's the best beginner breakfast even. I think it's easy to prepare. You can do overnight oats. I would tell them to increase their fruit consumption, especially berries, to increase their antioxidants. Gradually taper off the meat. Some people can do it right away, but as they eliminate the meat, make sure you start having the veggies. Maybe go slow on some of the fiber-rich foods at first while you get used to it. Like maybe start with a small portion of beans and then build yourself up to, a serving. You don't want to go all in with all that fiber at first because somebody can feel uncomfortable. We want them to get the right idea.
Mhm.
So ideally, I think it's a slow transition if we don't want them to fail.
Right. Yeah, I was going to ask you if you thought that it would be a good idea for people to jump in 100% like right away, or to do it easy. And different people have different ways of doing it.
Yeah. If they have the mindset to do it 100%, then by all means do it because their mind is giving them the direction. I mean, but some people might be reluctant or not know how they feel at first. So those people I advise to, take it easy, but stay on course and also to do this for a couple weeks. You have to see how you feel over a couple weeks. You can't just try it for a day or two and expect to feel great. It has to be over time.
Right. Yeah, that's a very important thing to get out there, is that it does take time. Like, how much time did it take for you to start feeling like, hey, I think I'm onto something here that is different from what I did before? Like, I can start to see changes
Um,
happening.
it wasn't long after my physical, actually, when I started to research. I noticed I was gradually feeling better, but really it was after I discovered Dr. Furman that I really started to feel, you know, fantastic. Um, I rarely get sick now.
Mm.
If I do get a cold, maybe it lasts for a day or two, but never beyond that. They sometimes there's rumors out there that vegans don't get sick. We do. It's just we recover faster, in my opinion. You have to worry about getting enough sleep and other things too. It's not just diet 100%, but the diet is a big part of it.
Sure. I kind of look at it like, when we get sick, that's our body getting rid of a lot of toxins,
Yeah,
and so if you're taking less in, it stands to reason that you won't have as many to get out. And
right.
so I know from myself too, I rarely get sick, and it's not like getting sick is a bad thing. Every now
Yeah,
and then your
exactly.
body needs to get
Exactly.
stuff out, but you can certainly help it by not adding to it.
And I also have to say, I have to add this. I remember a few years ago, I was feeling kind of tired, that I was working out hard and everything. And I really attribute it to not eating enough because when I started to increase my calories, I was building more strength and feeling better. I think a lot of, you'll hear about ex vegans online. I think their problem is they weren't eating enough. And it could be very easy to undereat and not even realize it because our food is so low in calories at times. So and those people who aren't eating enough, maybe they want to eat more avocado or increase the nuts in their diet. But there's ways to increase calories. If you notice after you're trying the diet for the first time that maybe you don't have enough energy, that might be one of the reasons why.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of truth in there, because I've heard people say, well, I tried that kind of diet, but it did not work. And then the classic thing to come back with is, well, you didn't do it right. And people don't like to hear
Exactly.
that. Like, what are you talking about? I didn't do it right. But there are a lot of different ways that you can eat plants.
Yeah,
There's
exactly.
different foods that you can focus on that will keep you starving. I mean, they're good for you, but you can't only eat but so much broccoli. You have to have
Exactly.
something else there, like
Right, exactly.
a starchy vegetable like rice and potatoes and those types of meals.
And I'm glad you said that because people think there's not enough variety in plant-based foods, but I think there's so much more variety now than compared to when I eat meat. You think about with meat, people either have like steak or chicken, or fish. And there's really not as much variety if you think about it for the meat eaters. But with the veggies, I mean, look at the variety of sweet potatoes alone. I've been trying so many different varieties of sweet potatoes. Garnet sweet potatoes, purple, it's my new favorite. Japanese sweet potatoes, just as an example, there are so many foods that I've discovered with this way of eating. Like last year, I discovered certain kinds of fruit that I never ate, like guava. That's another favorite fruit of mine. There is just an incredible amount of food out there people don't know. And, they just throw it out there that there's no variety in plant-based diets. All you eat is salad. Nope. Just look at my plate and you'll see a ton of variety.
Yeah, it is really funny how that goes. Like you said, when it comes to meat, we tend to flavor it differently with,
Exactly.
and that's with plants, by the way.
Yeah,
We find
exactly.
different ways to cook it and different ways to flavor it, but there's only but so much that you can do there. But with plants, I mean, there's so many different ones that you can choose from, that even if you don't like a bunch, there's still way, way more that you probably do like.
Exactly. And I like to tell people too that are real meat eaters, what did they think the meat would taste like without the spices? I bet it
Yeah,
has no taste. And if you think about it, it's the spices that they really like. And when they think about it, they realize it's true. That's what adds the flavor to the food they're eating.
right. Now, back in the days when you were heavy, what did you think was healthy eating? Like, because I know that all changed, but
Yeah,
what did you think before that was a healthy diet?
I was one of those ignorant people that thought that you need protein. So I thought that the meat was healthy, but it wasn't. I mean, I was still very obese. I did eat a few vegetables, not like I avoided them completely, but I didn't have the variety I had today. I did enjoy salad once in a while, but not anything near what I ate after I changed. But it was the meat that I thought was healthy, which definitely was not the case.
Yeah. Now, I want to go back. You were talking earlier about how eating all those different types of animal foods and processed foods, you were feeling down.
Right.
When did that start to lift? When did you start to not feel down about yourself?
I would say about April of 2012. I was in the groove, eating healthy. I was going to the gym, feeling good. For a change, when I would go to the gym before I lost the weight, I was, run down. Didn't feel like doing it. I had to force myself to maybe do a slow walk on the treadmill for 10 minutes, if I could even do that. Now, when I go to the gym in April of that year of 2012, I had all this energy. I was able to use the treadmill for an hour, and I just felt incredible. Using the stairs, I wasn't winded. So feeling that great, I didn't have the depression anymore. It lifted during that time just as the energy increased.
Yeah. So there was a time when you probably were like what they call like an emotional eater, right? Where you were
Oh, I
feeling
was. I was.
feeling down, and so you reached for whatever you can, right?
Exactly.
But then that all went out the window, right? When you started feeling really good, like you don't feel that
Absolutely.
kind of way of eating now.
Oh, never, never. Yeah. If I'm stressed at work, I know other people, they'll go to their chips or their junk food. No, I'm not that way anymore. Maybe I'll take a walk instead. My watch, I wear the Apple Watch, reminds me to stand every hour. Maybe I'll take a walk, that'll relieve some stress. But yeah, I'm not that person anymore. I just don't crave the food, and it's not my go-to anymore. Maybe I'll have a banana or some fruit if I really feel like I have to snack or something, some nuts. But no, if and there is junk food around me. It's not like there never is. I'll see donuts around or whatever. I'm never tempted by them ever anymore.
Wow. Now, you said that you were a different person. And I want to talk about that because it's more than just the number on a scale.
Yeah.
Once you lost all this weight and you started feeling good, what did that mean for you personally? Like, what doors did it open for you? How did you feel about yourself?
I had more confidence. I really had poor self-esteem, which I didn't even realize I had. prior to losing the weight. I didn't want to look at the mirror. I was uncomfortable in social situations. I didn't like going to restaurants, even though I did, but I didn't like it. I didn't like being seen. And one of the first things I realized is I'm comfortable looking in the mirror, for example. I was comfortable being at the gym. People don't talk about when you're heavy and going to the gym. I used to feel like all these eyes are watching me, feeling bad for, look at that obese guy on the treadmill, and I would feel like they were pitying me. And I built up so much confidence as I saw I was losing the weight that it felt like a new person in a way.
That's
That makes
really
sense.
great. I thought I had also read that your doctor told you, I mean, he was shocked by what had happened,
He was, yeah.
but he did say to you that he never thought that you could do it. He didn't tell you
Yeah.
that before. He told you
No,
that after the
no,
fact, right?
it's not interesting. Yeah, he didn't. He acted like he believed in me at first, but 6 months and confided in me. He never thought I could do it, which made me feel amazing.
That's
And
probably because he never sees anybody do it.
well, that's what he told me. And that doctor has since retired, but another doctor and him, they both have told me that I'm really like one in a million. Every other patient they've had, they never can keep the weight off. And here it is going on 11 years, 10 years, whatever it is now, of this sustainable weight loss. And I never thought I could keep it off either. I mean, I was totally in agreement with the doctor at the time because I really didn't think I could do it. But confidence increases is my advice to people out there. As you're losing the weight, your confidence will go up, and I think that helps keep you on the right path.
Yeah. Now your doctor there, he had never seen anybody have that kind of a success, but it's probably because he never gave them the tools. Like
No,
and
no.
that's the problem with a lot of these doctors.
That's the first thing I told them is tell your other patients about the plant-based diet. I don't know if he really did. I hope he did, but that was my advice to him. And I said it really works. And every other doctor since, I've told them the same thing. I've since gotten a plant-based doctor. Um, he's not a telehealth doctor, but a local doctor. I was lucky to find him. My previous doctor, as much as he was proud of what I did, he did say to me during one of my last appointments, he says, "You mean you don't even eat fish or eggs? Like I'm missing out on something?" And it got me to thinking that I really want to find a doctor who's more in alignment to my diet. So I did find a plant-based doctor, not only for that reason, just because it felt more comfortable with a plant-based doctor, but um, hearing comments like that makes me realize that sometimes we have a long way to go with some of the doctors.
Yeah, that's one of the things that really made an impression on myself when I was starting to learn about a whole food plant-based diet was I would see doctors like Dr. McDougall and others that their patients get better. I mean, and I from my own experience, I hadn't seen that. Everybody was
Exactly.
just on pills and they had what they had and they died with it and they never got better. So to see this kind of a success rate was like a revelation.
It was incredible. Yeah, yeah, yeah. All those success stories you can't deny.
Yeah, they're like one after another. And when you draw a line through them, it's people are eating, I think, in according to how their body's made, according to their instincts.
Mhm.
And when you start doing that, things start to get better.
I think I know some friends who do this, and I would like to start doing it as well. Some of my friends will give books out, like Forks Over Knives, and Dr. Furman's books to the doctors, so that they can read it themselves or watch documentaries themselves, because
Right.
really we need to open these doctors' eyes, because a lot of them weren't trained this way, so they don't know any better. And if their patients aren't telling them, they may never become aware.
That's really true because patients, they go to their doctor saying, what do I do? They give them the keys. What do
Yep.
I And if the doctor does not know, then the doctor will drive them into the ground, and
Yeah,
they won't get anywhere. And so we have to educate our own doctors, which sounds sad, but that's what you have to really do.
exactly, exactly. Yeah, absolutely.
Um, so I was going to ask you, who have you, like inspired on your own
Right,
to maybe change their diet the way that you did?
right. There have been a few people. My mom, I'm really proud of. She essentially reversed her diabetes. I mean, um, the doctor still considers her diabetic, but she doesn't need the medication. She checks her blood sugar. It's always normal every time she checks it. I'm really proud of her because, she doesn't need the meds.
That's
And
great.
she's also lost weight in the process. And, I'm really proud of her. I also have a friend. Eventually, I hope he'll come out with his story about how he lost weight. But he's lost like 80 pounds so far with my guidance with a plant-based diet. He reached out to me on Facebook because he saw my story, and I'm always happy to help people. And he's somebody I became friends with, and I'm just so proud of what he's doing because he's another person who went right into a plant-based diet, lost 80 pounds so far. He has another, I don't know, 70 pounds to go, but he's doing great. And I just love the fact that I can inspire people to change. I never thought I could, but that's the reason why I share my story.
Yeah, and I was going to ask you about your book. Why did you decide that you were going to write one? Did you think you ever would write a book? And how
No.
is that gone?
It's very well received. I'm very happy I wrote it because I have a lot of people on Facebook will ask, oh, "What's your story? How did you do it?" And it's a lot to go over, and I figured it needs to get out there in a book form because it's easier to send a link sometimes
Right.
than to go into everything. And I think that way people can go back and read it again, certain chapters if they want to see how I did it again. Maybe review my diet again. At least if it's in a book form, it's easier to review.
Mm-hmm.
And I never thought I'd do it. I always said to myself after I lose the weight, oh, maybe I should write a book. The pandemic, if you ever want to find the silver lining, I found time to write the book
Mm-hmm.
during the pandemic because I didn't have to do my long commute to work.
So was it easy? Because I know it wasn't when I wrote mine. It took about a
No, it's
year, and
not
it
easy.
was like a lifestyle thing, really.
Yeah, it's not easy, believe me.
Right.
But I'm very happy I did, though.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure that there's a lot of people out there that may be seeing this who might feel the same way that you did back when you were 350 pounds, and they're thinking, I can never do that. And, my body's broken. It's my genes. Where do you think someone like that should start?
Don't ever blame your genes. For the people out there, yes, the genes can maybe turn on or turn off, but that's from the diet. You could have a very poor diet and maybe your obesity runs in the family. Then with your poor diet, you're going to be obese. Um, well, same with diabetes. If you have that in your family, you have the gene, it doesn't have to turn on. You just have to clean up your diet, go plant-based, and I'm almost certain you'll avoid diabetes. It really is about believing in yourself when you're ready to change, and look at your overall health. What do you want to improve? Do you want to improve your heart disease or diabetes? You want to avoid cancer? Ask yourself honest questions of what it is you want to achieve, and do it for health. Don't do it for weight loss. I know weight loss is important, but when you do it for health, the weight will come off naturally with a plant-based diet.
Mhm. No, I know with genes, I know like in my own family, there's lots of things running through it,
Right.
cancer and type 2 and heart disease. And I don't feel like I'm in line for that.
Yeah,
What
me, I
about you?
agree.
Like, what what is your family genes like? And how do you
Yeah,
feel now as opposed to maybe before?
yeah. There's cancer in the family. There's been stomach cancer and colon cancer, and I don't fear those things because my diet is so clean. I remember reading somewhere where Dr. Furman said, if you've been eating this way for 10 years and didn't have cancer in that amount of time, then you're really, you should have a cancer-free life because, your diet is so clean, after that. It takes like 10 years for cancer to grow. So if I've been eating clean for 10 years, hopefully I don't ever have to worry about it. And I don't worry about it because I'm so confident with my diet. Just like my blood sugar, when I have to check with the lab work or whatever, it's always good. So I don't worry about it. My blood pressure, I'll check every once in a while. It's in check, so I don't need to worry about it. Um, Eventually becomes something that's just in the background. Hey, I want to continue to stay healthy, so I'll keep eating this way.
I want to talk about like when you go out of your own house and you go out to eat, let's say, what do
Yeah.
you do to make sure that you stick with your own diet, or do you see that as an opportunity to maybe have a little something extra that you wouldn't have, or
Yeah.
what would you recommend that other people do
Well,
there?
I love the challenge. So no matter what the restaurant, my coworkers have been awesome. I got to admit, whenever we go out for a gathering, they know I'm vegan, so they always make sure the restaurant has vegan choices too. But anyway, this last restaurant I went to, for example, I look at the menu ahead of time. Sometimes, if I don't have time, I'll just tell the waiter I'm plant-based. What vegan options do they have? If they don't have any vegan options, I'll ask, can they do a salad, which is veggies? Um, Usually they're accommodating. I'll ask for dressing, like vinegar. I don't use dressing, so vinegar. Um, if there's baked potatoes, I'll have that. It's just about asking the waiter, you know, how they prepare food or if they use oil, things like that. But I love the challenge and I always succeed whenever I go to these restaurants.
That's right. And always be nice to people
Yeah,
who are handling your
exactly.
own food, right?
I
Uh,
agree. And I also do bring my own food when I go out to restaurants because I'm probably going to be hungry afterwards. So, I'll have some nuts or maybe a Lara bar, something like that. But yeah, always something vegan, I'll have at the restaurant.
do you ever feel like you're just missing out on things? Do
No,
you ever
never,
feel that? No?
never. I mean, I look at their food. And I have the opposite effect when I see other people eating bad food. I think, what are they doing to their health? I don't think to myself, gee, I wish I could eat that. No, this shift in my mind. I think, do they have any idea what they're doing? And I don't mean to, but I'm in the grocery store. I happen to look at other people's carts and I'll see all the junk food they're buying. And I'll think to myself, what are they feeding their families? It's just something that's ingrained in me. I keep it to myself for the most part. But, I mean, you can't change everybody, but
Right.
I'm hoping to inspire people. I do wear my vegan shirts at the gym, just so people can, ask me about my diet. Um, you know, I change as many people as I can.
Yeah. Now, what did you change in terms of, let's say, your pant size and that kind of
Oh
thing?
yeah,
What did that
uh,
look
I
like?
was size 44, and I went down to 32 to 34. I can fit into 32, but I still wear 34 as well.
Mhm.
So you can tell that I had to buy a whole new wardrobe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that probably made you feel good about yourself
Oh
too.
yeah, that's another confidence builder. Not having to go to the big and tall section. I mean,
Right.
that's an awesome feeling to know that I could fit into a normal size. I remember going to J.C. Penney years ago and feeling depressed because I had to go to the big and tall, and they never had the pant size I had in the regular section. It's really depressing if you think about it.
Yeah.
You have to go to a special section just for your clothes.
Yeah. I mean, that alone should make you feel down.
It
Like
did.
that's
It
enough
did.
to make you feel down to where you go eat like, a cheesecake.
Absolutely.
I mean,
Absolutely. Yep.
and I
Now
know that there's
the difference is now if I'm down, I don't go to cheesecake, go for a walk. So
Right. Right. And I know that people probably want to know what happened to all that skin, like the excess.
Yeah,
How did you deal with that?
that for 5 years, I was told myself that if I don't get this skin under control, I'll do a tummy tuck or abdominoplasty. I gave myself 5 years. I did strength training thinking it would help. It did help other areas like my arm and chest, but the belly never came back. I've had doctors tell me it's like a balloon. Once it's stretched, it's just stretched and that's it. Can't do anything about it. So I gave myself 5 years. I did my homework. I found a doctor in New York that specialized in abdominoplasty. I was really reluctant, but I wanted to do it because this was when I looked in the mirror, I thought this is a constant reminder of where I've been. I know some people see it as like a scar, but for me, it was like something I didn't want to see anymore. So I found this doctor and I did my homework. I did like 5 consultations. I was comfortable with what he said. I was really scared about the anesthesia. He let me talk to the anesthesiologist. She relieved my mind about it. And I had the procedure in August of 2018. Never regretted it. It was, I would say it was tough recovery the first couple of weeks. I had to wear drains. It was kind of disgusting having to, go to the sink and drain that all the time and all the blood. I wasn't used to seeing all that. But, after a couple of weeks, I also had an infection too that had to be taken care of. But all that cleared up. And, after the first month or so, it was smooth sailing. Now there's barely a scar, and I'm just so happy I did it.
Yeah.
But what I recommend to people, you will have loose skin if you're very heavy like I was, but give yourself time. Some of it will come back. Maybe if your belly wasn't as big as mine, that'll come back too. But I would say give it a couple of years. You can wait 5 years even if like I did. But maybe you'll be lucky and it'll come back.
I've heard of people having that kind of surgery. There's like a depression that you can go through just from having that kind of surgery, seeing yourself,
Sure.
all those scars that you were talking about, the drains. But I would think that you had hope in that you had the right diet to keep this off.
Exactly. That's what kept me going. Yep.
And plus, the inflammation
continue.
was also down too. You weren't eating a lot of garbage.
Exactly.
So your body was healing better, I would think.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah, it was that was a relief in my mind that I was eating this way. I couldn't imagine going through this without that diet. It would have been a lot worse recovery.
Right. And you could have had surgery a long time ago that would have taken out part of your stomach. I mean, it could have been worse.
Yeah,
Did you ever think about getting any kind of other
never.
weight loss thing ever?
I was scared to death of surgery. I don't know how I was brave enough to do the abdominoplasty, but I could never do one of those surgeries where they take out part of your stomach. That scares me to death thinking about that. I mean, people could die from that, and I mean there is a risk, and I would never take the risk. I would rather have stayed heavy in my mind than to ever do surgery. So, I mean, hearing that, you could see why it was a big thing for me to do an abdominoplasty, because I was scared to death of surgery, even with that. But somehow I found the courage because I just wanted that gone.
It's really amazing how what we try to come up with to lose weight, it sounds crazy. Let's restrict our calories. Let's take part of our stomach out. How about just changing your overall diet?
Exactly. Yep. I mean, absolutely. Exactly. Yeah.
And it's usually, it's like the last place where people look.
Yeah, it was for me too. Well, except for surgery. I would never look there, but yeah, I tried everything else, and this plant-based diets are honestly the only thing that worked for me.
Would you say that it was easy, or would you say that it was tough, but you learned and you took baby steps and Because I don't
Uh,
want people to think that this is an easy thing, because it's not always easy. You know, not
it's not
everybody
easy.
can just jump in 100% and
Yeah.
get it done. So how much on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the most difficult, where do you think it was for yourself?
Okay, for the first month, I think it was about a 7. It really wasn't that bad for me because, like I said, I cut down gradually. I didn't know I was doing a plant-based diet, but that's what I was leaning toward. And by April, I was eating so clean already when I started Dr. Furman's plan that that was a 10. It was really easy. So I think if you want to be like me and take it slow, if you think is make yourself more comfortable, then it might be a 7 for you as well. I think. I think if you go all in and you're not ready for it, it's going to be probably a 1. It's going to be very hard, and unfortunately, that person will probably fail.
Mhm. And you were by yourself doing it too, right? I mean, there
Yeah,
was
and
nobody else
nobody
doing it with
else.
you or advising you, right? You were just head
Yep,
in the books,
all
right?
on my own.
Looking at
Yep,
videos.
yep, exactly,
It's kind of
exactly,
like what I did too, you know, just had to learn by myself, which is
yeah,
why I like to coach people, is because I know the value that can come as, you know,
exactly. Yeah,
maybe cutting some corners here, you know.
yeah, same here, same here. You know, one of my future ambitions is to actually become a coach. I would love to. That's a dream job of mine.
Yeah. Well, as I'm sure, like with helping your own mom, that you get a lot out of it when you're helping someone else.
Oh, I do. It feels really good. It honestly does. I mean, it feels as good as my own success when I see their before and after pictures and off meds, and it's an incredible feeling.
Yeah. So you went from 350 plus, because you stopped counting, right?
Yep.
Down to, what are you now?
197 last time I checked.
Okay. So
I'd stay in the same range.
okay. So how long a period of time did it take for you to really get that weight down to, let's say, where you are now?
Yeah, it was in phases. So 120 first year, gradually over the next few years, it got to be 150. And then during I guess 2019, 2020, I started running more, and gradually I got down to like 196, 197, and that's where I've stayed.
Mhm.
So I'd say very gradually I got down to my lowest weight, but the first year was the most.
Right. And I think people shouldn't be focused on how much time it's going to take. The most important thing is to get your body right.
Absolutely, I totally agree. Now I only weigh myself once a week. I think that's all you need to do. Don't
Yeah.
focus on the number, just focus on how you feel.
So aside from the whole diet part that we've been talking about, what are you doing in terms of like activity?
Um, I have been doing a lot of running until I got a knee injury. That was actually from a college injury where my kneecap was kind of moving around. I'm gradually getting back into running. I did my first half marathon in 2019, I believe. I've done 2 half marathons.
Wow.
I do work out 5 days a week at the gym. I do strength training 5 days a week. I'm very active. I do the elliptical. I walk a lot. Just very active. I can't
So
imagine not doing something.
yeah, I mean, running in a marathon is something that I hear about a lot of people doing. And I could
Yeah,
only imagine it's because you have so much energy that you don't know what to really
exactly.
do.
That's
Like,
what it is.
because that's
Yep.
not something that you wanted to do when you were 350 pounds, right?
Never,
You
never.
ever think
No,
about running a
never,
race?
never, never even thought about running. Nope. I
Yeah,
never thought about any of the things I'm doing now. Strength training, none of it. Yeah,
that's what I want people to understand too, is that there are things that can happen to you that can change your life that you have no concept of going in.
oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Totally. 100% you're right. Yep. You'll be a totally different person, but in a good way.
Wow. Well, before we wrap up here, Richard, I want to thank you for coming on. And I just want to see if you have any one last word of hope that you can give to someone who may be looking at this going, maybe they're saying, you know what, I want to do what Richard did. What's the first thing
absolutely.
that I should do? What should,
Cut down in phases, but increase your fruit and veggie consumption. Day one. Find foods that you like as you're doing the transition. Gradually cut more and more meat out, but don't give up, at least during the first 2 weeks. Do not give up. You'll feel a shift in how you feel during those first few weeks, and just stay on course. After those first few weeks, I guarantee you, I don't think you'll ever want to go back to your old diet because you'll be feeling amazing. And that's my advice. Just stay on course. And if you stumble, get right back on the bandwagon. I mean, everybody's human. Maybe somebody has stumbled once or twice. Just don't let that build up in your mind. Just get right back into it.
that's really good stuff, Richard, because I think that sometimes people, they get off track. They may do it for a week or two and they get off track for whatever reason. And they think, oh, I've screwed it up.
Yeah.
It's important to just say, all right, look, that happened. What's done is done. I'm going to pick it up again and I'm going to start. This is a new day, and do your best, give it your best shot.
Yep, exactly.
Well, Richard, thank you very, very much. Your story is amazing. I hope that somebody watching this says, I'm going to make this change for myself and for my health. And so thank you very, very much.
And if they need any advice, just reach out to me. I'm always happy to help too.
And before I do let you go, I do want you to plug any place where we can find you. Like, do you have a website, or what's the best way to come?
I do have a website coming called plantbasedrich.com. This is not launched yet. Right now, people can find me on healthylivingct.com. That's where I do my blog. I haven't blogged lately because I've been so busy, but I do plan to update soon. And they could also find me on Facebook. Also look for me on Healthy Living in Connecticut and Facebook. And I'm also on Instagram, rich.plant.strong. It's my handle on Instagram. So, any advice you need, just reach out.
Great. I will get all of those links for people to check out.
I appreciate it.
And you've got a book too, and that's on Amazon, right?
That's on Amazon. It's called Plant-Based Journey to Health. It's available on Amazon. It's you can download it, or you can purchase a print copy.
Sounds good, Richard. Thank you.
Okay. Yep. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed it.